How are you guys doing? Bertrand is in the game, and as you guys know from maybe another video earlier on in the week, we have unlocked him, and I've been able on basically day one to test the hell out of this hero. And what I mean by that is I have used every hero in the mage category that you're able to use with this hero and basically tell you who he works with and who he doesn't work with. And I'm going to tell you, going to shock you when it comes into the results. So let's get into today's video and guide for the golden child, Bertrand, and is he worth actually unlocking in Call of Dragons? Hello guys, yes, smash a like, comment and subscribe for more daily videos of me, MrSneakyy, and we're in game here with Bertrand, the latest basically hero in the game that you're able to unlock through the Wheel of Destiny and potentially through your lucky wheel spins that most free-to-play and low spenders are basically going to be able to get access to, right? So we have him, and the main thing about Bertrand that we're going to get into is how this compound interest skill works. Because when you read this compound interest skill before we do a full skill breakdown, it says when Bertrand deals hero skill damage, he gains 1 stack of golden mark for 5 seconds, maximum of 3 stacks, and each stack of the golden mark increases his hero skill damage by 4%. Meaning, when we are trying to figure out how this skill works with other heroes, what we're basically looking out for is when we can see the compound interest, we should be able to see it at 4%. And if there's additional triggers, we'll be able to see it increase to 8% or 12%, for example, right? And it's really cool because, as you guys should be able to see now, if I edit it correctly, even in the little overview right now of all the matches that I was testing out, you'll be able to notice a common theme when Bertrand is basically using his ability or his compound interest, because your march gains this little purple circular marker underneath it, and it gains basically a size, and each stack of size will increase obviously the ring. And you'll notice if you have 3 wood, it would, as I could imagine, hit the maximum ring, right? It'll go all the way out to the further out, say, edges of your marches, right? So that is just a quick little overview there, guys, of the heroes. So what we're going to do is firstly showcase his skills now. And we're just going to explain what his skills do so you understand this hero. But then we're actually going to go into a deep dive more into this compound interest, right? Because you can see now where this video is going to lead to. We're going to have a nice understanding what this guy's supposed to be doing, but we'll also learn more about compound interest in this one video that we can do for our man. So let's get into the skill section of Bertrand. So Bertrand's skill kit is actually a really simple kit to understand if you've got any sort kind of like understanding on what flying mages kind of want to achieve in the game, right? So when you're looking at Bertrand, you've got the skill of his single target damage. Very simple. It's a 1300 damage nuke, but it gains 5 increased damage dealt per stack of all of his golden marks, right? He consumes all of this when he basically triggers it. Nice and easy to understand. So as we've kind of read in the intro, he's able to gain these golden marks when he deals hero skill damage. So in theory, what people would interpret this as, and I don't know if this is just because it's a type error, or as I'm going to basically, you know, kind of conclude when we go into the testing section, it just doesn't work. Basically, the way we imagine this is if he deals damage, or maybe someone else on the side deals damage, he's going to gain a stack, right? So no matter what, you can imagine most heroes in reality should get into 2 stacks. There might be Toha, there might be Valen, and there might be like someone like Alwyn, or even, you know, your Lilia, that if you could imagine them dealing 2 different instances of hero skill damage like they do, it should get them to 3. But we've got that all sorted out in the test section, so don't worry. I'm not going to spoil any of it. So basically, we're going to get a hero skill damage bonus, though, stack while we have this on. And the cool thing is, like I said, both heroes kind of have this when it's online, which is kind of powerful, which you're going to see when it comes into the testing. Here we have a very cool, and I like this ability too. On his third skill, you get a 25% magic attack bonus, meaning you are hitting like an absolute truck. But on top of that, you get a massive 10% enemy magic unit, defense penetration buff. So you're going to be able to punch through players and hit them even harder, even if they've got really good tech. And the powerful thing about this skill is, and it's kind of funny, the lower, say, tech player someone is, say they've got really bad defense tech on their research, you will hit them even harder, where you're going to get some insanely high, strong skill numbers, which is really funny when you see that even happen for yourselves, right? So nice and simple. And then in the final skill, and people, when it comes to testing, aren't really talking, I think, or understanding how this skill is used. It's while in the field, Bertrand gains 5% attack and defense if they've not taken normal attack damage for 3 seconds. And it's a 15% increase of stats. So in total, you're gaining 30% worth of stats, guys. That's what this is stating. But you can't get attacked. And the thing is, when you're trying to test Bertrand, a lot of people are testing Bertrand in 1v1s, right? And the problem is, while you're doing that, you technically are not really getting this skill online, because the way you've got to imagine Bertrand to be used, and especially if you're using like a flying mage, celestial unit, you're actually going to be on these kind of mountain rocks, or you're even better going to be in the river. So you're technically out of range. You have the maximum range, so you can punish everyone, in the game, meaning the infantry, cavalry units, and the marksmen that might not have taken the talent. You're able to hit them from here all the way. So that's how you're gaining this buff. And the thing is, with this type of player, it's a group, you normally get a group of 20, 30 plus flyers that all work like this. So it's quite easy for you not to get targeted in the field, right? So when it comes to testing the actual hero Bertrand, it's going to be a little bit hard to see how good it is in a 1v1 just because of this one skill, right? But if you understand what the hero wants to do and wants to achieve, it's actually a very powerful skill in Call of Dragons. It's probably the premier magic, almost like poke hero for Celestials right now. And the cool thing is, when we go into his awakening, all it is just a 200 increase of damage. So the thing is, you might even argue you don't need to awaken this hero. You could actually go 5-5-5-1 and just leave it at that and get 10% worth of stats, and you've got a nice investment without, burning 690 sculptures into the hero, right? So we've gone all over that. Let's go into how skill compound interest works, because however this skill works is going to determine what I would suggest the pairings for your Bertrand when it comes into the future, right? So let's go into that and explain how this skill actually works in Call of Dragons. So here we are. We've been able to basically test, and all I'm trying to test here, guys, is how skill compound interest, that skill 2, however that works in this game, right? And it's amazing because I've only got that skill and obviously my main skill online, right? So what I've been able to do is obviously test this, as you can see here, with obviously Atheus and Bertrand. We've got Lilia, Bertrand, Alwyn, Bertrand, Fear, Bertrand. We've got our Valen, Bertrand, and finally Waldir and Bertrand. The one thing I will say, and I'm going to talk about the first one, is Valen, because the cool thing with this actual whole build is I believe it will work if you have an awakened Valen at level 40, right? Because of Valen's kit, if we go to the Legion buffs, Valen, when you have him obviously unlocked, has a passive skill of dealing 400 damage to your hero. At the moment, we are just quickly waiting for this. When I get more information, I will relay it to you guys if the awakened state works. But if we just look at the normal Valen, and the funny thing is, this is, as you can imagine, very similar to the Wild Deer report here. when you look at the battle log and actually try to figure out how this works, we can go all the way down, and if we look even into the prior sort of areas here on our areas, you're going to notice there's never a compound trigger, right? We're never getting any compound interest triggers, even if we go all the way up, right? Not a single compound interest trigger, right? The only time you're going to get this is through the hero skill damage, right? So now we have our casted skill on our turn. And the thing is, when we look at this, we're going to see now we have our trigger of our damage, and then Bertrand's compound interest was triggered, which is really, really cool. So we gain hero skill damage bonus effect for 5 seconds now, right? So we should have, and as you can imagine, a 4% extra hero skill damage in the next battle log, right? When we go down now, you're going to see Valen now deal some sort of hero skill damage, and because he's dealt it, he actually has, as you can see, 4% increase from the compound interest, right? And this is within half a second remaining. So when we go down further in, we can see again compound interest, but the one thing you'll notice in the common theme, we only have 4%, and this is 4 seconds remaining. Now we're going to go for another trigger, and we have 4%. And if we keep going down, it's refreshed that timer. So then if we keep going on, we can keep even looking at in between any of these, right? And you can notice it's 4% on the compound interest. We come down here again, we have another 4% on the compound interest. And this is 1.5 seconds remaining, right? And now if we just quickly blow up again the gameplay side of this, you're going to see how it looks, right? And when I was explaining it before in that, previous section with all the little videos quickly popped up on screen, this is what it looks like for Valen. So you can see how that purple little circle appears, but it doesn't get any larger. And the thing is, it does the exact same thing with Waldia. It does the exact same thing with Fear. It does the exact same thing with Halloween. It does the exact same thing with Lilia and Atheist, right? And the thing is, when we look at this now, we can even look at the Lilia battle logs here, and we just go over it. There is going to be some heroes, guys, and I am going to go over them. There's going to be some heroes that actually benefit through this, and Lilia kind of is one of them because of the Scorch, right? And you're going to understand why, but it's not because of the stack damage. Maybe in the future it will work the way we all intended it to work, but as of now, as you can gonna gather from this, it basically doesn't work as anyone expected, right? It just doesn't work apart from with Toha and one other way, which I am going to explain through, as you can imagine, the talent page section. I know, who would have thought, but the talent pages are here to save you, right? But when we look at Lilia gains the compound interest trigger here, as you can see, which is kind of cool. And then we gain the 4% increase damage from compound interest. The cool thing, which I'm trying to find in one of these, and you can see it very easily in stuff like Halloween as well, is when certain skill damage is triggered. So your main skill damage or even your Scorch trigger, that actually keeps that 4%. So your Scorch damage, even though it's not that much damage, guys, your Scorch technically deals 4% extra damage, which is kind of nice when you think about it in that terms, right? But you'll notice here throughout the whole, page that we're going through, and again, you can pause this video at any time if you really want to take a good read yourself. You'll notice it's always 4%. We never gain this stack above 4%. It's never going to hit 8%. It's never going to do anything else. As you can see, I even have on like the war pet, the captive war pet, to try and help it out. Doesn't do anything, guys. Nothing really helps this out. You got 4% again, skill crit rate on top of it, which is really cool. So you can see like it actually does synergize really, really well with Lilia's kit, which is kind of nice. As I was saying, with that, you can imagine with Halloween, it works the same exact way. So you're going to gain that compound trigger effect with Halloween. So you're going to have that one stack. you will never go above 1 stack with him. However, all of your ensnaring effects, every ensnare that you deal will actually obviously ensnare the target, but on top of it, you will get the 4% increase of damage from compound interest, which is kind of sick as well, I find. I really like the fact that your Alloin here doing damage over time effects, you know, on his kit, are actually getting 4% extra damage every single tick of that, right? Which is kind of like insane value, I think, for the hero, right? So we've showcased how it works. Like you can imagine, for every single hero, basically it's the exact same. Fear, I'm not gonna lie, I will show you this battle log. Personally, when I was using Fear plus my Bertrand, I wasn't feeling it. I just was not feeling it, guys. Like, it just feels like you just don't do near enough damage. And yes, you get the shield, which is nice and cool, but I'm telling you, there's going to be some pairings which we're going to go over in the next, you know, point, which I think is just better than Fear. So let's go over into the pairings and we can summarize the video with those and the 2 talent pages I'm going to recommend that you run on Bertrand. There you go, guys. And if you have made it this far in the video, you know what to do. Just remember, hit the like button, hit the sub button, just help the channel out, guys. We are growing every single day, right? But we are looking into these Bertrand pairings, and straight away, the Bertrand pairing I am going to be running, without a doubt, is, as you can imagine, Bertrand and Atheist. This is going to be actually, I think, a really popular combo that people will start to enjoy. Why? Again, you got to remember, everyone's going to benefit from that extra skill damage that you're gaining, right? So someone that has insanely good, again, single target damage factor that pairs up with your Bertrand is going to be a beautiful, you know, thing to see. On top of this, what you're going to get as well, which Bertrand lacks of, and you really, really want this, is rage generation. You actually need some rage generation in your kit, and getting that rage generation to keep pumping off these single target skill cycles is going to absolutely nuke and poke players into submission with your celestial units, right? On top of that, you get your HP bonus, which is a key stat, and obviously because you're a flying unit, you're going to get that healing receive bonus, which is really nice, because when you obviously have him awakened, you get that 400 healing factor. But on top of this, you get a damage taken reduction from all damage by 10%, and even better, 20% match speed bonus. It is actually one of the best kits, honestly, I think, that you're going to pair with your Bertrand, especially when we go into the 2 different talent pages I've got to show you guys, which are very spicy and special for your boy. So who else would I recommend with Bertrand? Some people will run Fear, and I'm going to say Fear will be okay. I just think she's going to do way less damage, but it does mean your Bertrand might stay in the battlefield a lot longer compared to the Atheist and the Bertrand. Who knows? We're going to have to obviously see that properly. But when you do get the Fear, obviously you get that shield, a little bit of extra skill damage on top. It's okay, it's nothing too crazy. The attack bonus is nice, and don't get me wrong, the hero skill damage taken bonus is beautiful as well, with her making you tanky. And all of these insanely great stats. If you have an awakened, maybe Fear might be the way to go for you if you want in pure stats on your Bertrand, right? But if you are trying to be more like a free-to-play player and you don't have a really good Fear, and similar to me, and my Fear I don't think is good enough, I would be recommending Atheist, and that's the way I'm going to be running it. But there is actually other options, right? Bertrand, like I said, does have some other options. Maybe if you really want to go super free-to-play, I'm not going to lie, I'm actually going to suggest Alloin, because again, if you are looking for a 3rd mage match, and I mean that by some people running Lilia with that nasty Fear, you have your Waldir and Valen combo, then you could run Bertrand with Alloin. And like I said, that Alloin's damage every 100 continuous damage factor you deal is getting 4% extra damage. And on top of this, you get that march speed reduction. So you have a nice little utility in your kit. And like I say, I think you would synergize really, really well with this hero. But again, if you go in for a bit more of a bigger player, I do see Bertrand with Lilia working all right. But Valen, again, should, in theory, if we get some more testing, work the best. Because of, again, having this passive skill that deals 400 damage factor, guys. So you're able to, in theory, get 2 stacks from Valen and obviously the Bertrand, right? Which is really, really important because now you're on 8% and not 4%. So those are the pairings that I'm mainly gonna talk about. You can obviously imagine Wildea, but I wouldn't really pair Wildea with him. If I'm honest with you, I'd rather have Wildea elsewhere. But that's it. Let's go into Bertrand's actual talent pages now, because I've got 2 talent pages to go for. One of them is the go-to, and then the other one is an optional, a little bit of a different change, and you'll understand why I've done that in the next section. And welcome to the talent page section, the one and only page sections that you guys kind of love. I know you guys love my foundational breakdowns of these. You know, I go kind of deep and, you know, break it all down. So let's go into what I think is going to be the best one at the start. But I am obviously going to give you a second talent tree that could be better performing, but obviously we'll need some testing, right? But this one is one that you can easily see is one of the most solid builds for Bertrand, right? So obviously we're going to go for the Holy Trinity. You know the Holy Trinity by now. Get the attack, movement speed, and HP. I was, again, one of the basic foundations of playing any build. Then we get Mighty Power, which is giving us 20 extra rage, which is nice, and 2% hero skill damage. So we get a little bit of rage from there, right? So we're gonna go down the skill tree. And the reason why we're going down the skill tree mainly is because of some information that we've been able to confirm through the CS and other players confirming that, you know, it's supposed to be correct. And it's because of Thirst for Blood. So whenever you cast your rage skill, your Legion deals an additional hero skill damage to the target Legion. So basically, it's almost giving you like a double hit on your hero skill damage. Yes, it's only 60 damage. But the beautiful thing about Thirst for Blood is actually going to trigger Bertrand's second skill, the Consort Mark. So this talent is key already for every Bertrand build, unfortunately. It does at the moment until maybe the fixed Bertrand, which we'll obviously summarize on at the end. But for now, Thirst for Blood is a key talent. You need this talent for Bertrand to work. It's going to allow you, obviously, to go from 4% to 8% damage increase with your talent page and your hero. And that's without using Toha. That's the possible only hero able to pair with this guy, right? So this is the reason why we're going to go down the skill tree. But let's explain it a little bit more, because there is some really good stuff to take in, right? So from this skill tree, what we're going to be going is the attack, obviously skill damage, and the rage generation here, right? The reason why we're taking this rage generation is we got head held high and we got spirit of rage. And when we go over to the PvP tree, you can see we could take more rage, right? And sometimes I do enjoy trying to double stack this. But again, some players as in FS, as well as some other players reaching out, I've always said, yes, you can get, and it is true, you can get your skill cycles on turn 8 or 9. But on average, just the average time, you will get more turn 10 cycles when you double stack. What that means is, to me, I'm not going to lie, it feels really inefficient now actually running both of them, right? So what we're going to do is obviously go for the skill damage on that side instead, right? So that hopefully makes sense, where we only grabbing this rage generation here and not the rage generation in the PvP tree, right? Or the rage generation here either, right? So what do we do? Get the rage generation, pretty simple. We're going to go for detached. Why? we don't really care about normal attack damage. Let's be real, boys. We really don't. We just want to hit people as hard as possible with our single target nukes. So we take 4% less normal attack damage, deal, should I say, 4% less, but we deal 8% more skill damage, which is beautiful because we get so much more extra damage for free when, as you can imagine, we go for the focus and the Raging Tide combo, which is get the skill crit damage and the 15% extra times where maybe you get that extra damage off, you know. It's nice when it happens, and you'll be surprised on how often it can happen in the game. And obviously, thirst for blood, right? So that's kind of the skill tree. That makes hopefully sense. You're going for big damage nukes here with obviously Thirst of Blood for synergy on skill 2. You've got the obviously rage generation here in the skill tree already. And once you've done this tree, we're going into the PvP tree. And as you can see, and as I touched on, we're basically just trying to make our march now more PvP viable. So what I'm going to talk about is obviously going for the attack here. You're going to want more attack for more damage. The march speed is beautiful because you get 10% extra march speed. And if you do pair, like I said, this with your Atheist, that's 30% march speed bonus already, which is beautiful for your guy. You can then go into skill damage. This is 5% extra. So you in total get 9% from your talent page. And like I said, we don't need this handheld high anymore, right? We don't need this, especially if we're doing something like maybe a Bertrand Atheist build with the Rage Generation. Definitely don't need it. So you definitely want to go for Fury of Flame, or personally, an alternative if you kind of feel like you've got enough skill damage, go for the HP. You'd be surprised. You will survive a little bit longer out there because your units have raw HP increase over your opponents, but who knows? Some people might get back to me and say, nah, we prefer, you know, the skill damage. That's why we're going down this route at the moment. And as you can imagine, since we're playing Celestials, we're definitely increasing our damage very, very heavily while we're in the field because we're really, really good at keeping, you know, in combat, keeping out of range, you know, being able to poke people over rivers, over mountains, because terrain's no problem for us, right? Because we're a flying mage unit. And then, obviously, we finish stuff here with 2% max speed. Nice and simple, right? So that's going to be the first tree. You can take a look at it right now. I think this is going to be the best tree that you can run at the start until maybe we fit, you know, maybe Bertrand gets fixed, or maybe we figure out something else. However, there is a second tree that I'm going to run, which is this tree. And I've got this on, and I will discuss this in a moment. But you can see it's identical. It's the identical tree that we've just run. But the only difference is boiling blood. And the thing is, they sometimes have been told it doesn't work a little bit with Bertrand. That might be a bug. If it's a bug, I do believe the devs will fix it over time. And if that's the case, this is going to be a really good actual talent to take for this type of build. But for now case, you can still obviously take Spirit of Rage if you just want that pure rage generation for your skills, right? But, as you can imagine, we're going into the magic tree. And the reason why I like this tree is actually because it's really, really simple. So you know what you're kind of doing with the skill tree already. And the only difference between the PvP and the magic tree is the PvP is just raw damage for your, you know, your match. So it's in all great situations. What this is also kind of good in situations because you get a nice amount of HP, you get 2.5%. You get Foresight, which is actually a really good rage generation ability because it's after casting your rage skill, so you get 75 more rage, which is actually different to head held high. So you actually get a really, really good rage combination by doing this. And that's why you can justify having boiling blood instead of obviously Spirit of Rage, but you could again double up if you really, really wanted to. But what you'll do is go for Intimidation and obviously Magic Maelstrom. This is the only reason why we're going down the magic area, because again, if you're using something like maybe Bertrand Atheist, Bertrand Fear, you know, a flying poke comp mainly, you really, really want to try it as well to strip your enemy's magic defense as much as possible, especially when you have some defense penetration in your kit already. It's going to make you hit even harder, you know, in your single target burst. So this is a really, really maybe underrated skill that you could be taking, and this is why I'm suggesting it as a second talent build, because again, this could be something really, really powerful for Bertrand. And with your last point, I honestly put it in the magic speed. It's actually really good. You get 3% march speed, guys. 3% over 2, which is already bad. 3%. What? So yeah, I got 3% march speed. It is what it is. You could have chosen, if you really wanted to go down any of these, go for it. But personally, I just think the march speed is more relevant for this style of marches here. So hope you guys have enjoyed the talent section. And that is Bertrand, right? If you're wondering what pet to run, I'm not going to lie, pet-wise, guys, you should know there's only one pet Bertrand really, really enjoys running, and that is obviously the brand new pet, the Shadow Phaedric. If you're wondering what artifacts to run, you can run any magic artifact. I'm not going to lie, just run anything. Why? Because you're just there to deal damage and poke. So if you're going to get a Phoenix Eye proc off, good. If you can actually heal your actual, you know, Celestial Murder Ball, that'll be nice as well. And this is really underrated for the amount of stats that gives you, you know, keeps you out there in the open field. Magic Bomb's a really good one. Obviously, if you've got Visage of Sanctus, you could use this potentially. Mirage Orb, the brand new thing that's come out, and even maybe the Lakeside, Rhapsody. That's another potential because it's AoE on your march, right? So it's really cool, you know, depending on what you're running, you enjoy it, right? So those are the artifacts, those are the pets, those are talents. We've gone over Bertrand, we've gone over how this bloody skill compound interest works. We've gone over everything, so I hope that helps you out. And if you're wondering if he's worth investing into by the end of this video, I honestly want to still say yes, because I can't believe, you know, the state it's in. So I do believe he's going to get fixed, and there's going to be a way to actually play him properly. And I do actually think, even as a, you know, magic, you know, unit on his own with like Atheist as well, you're going to be surprised. He's a very strong hero that you could basically reliably use, and you know he's going to be nice in the future for those celestial fighters, right? So I think he's all right. It's a little bit of a saddening to see that compound interest is bugged on him, that it appears from all the testing that I've done. You can obviously trigger this, as people know, through Toha. This is the only way Toha and Bertrand will work to get the maximum of 3 stacks. I don't want to really talk about that combo because personally, I'm not going to lie, guys, I don't like it. Why? They're both doing different stuff. One of them wants to not move, one of them wants to really move. And that's the difference, right? And one of them is going to ground Bertrand, and Bertrand really, really does want to be in a flying march so that they can take advantage of all of his skills in his kit, right? So if you guys have enjoyed it, that's my verdict. So that's my first impressions, first guide ever on Bertrand, the talent pages, everything. I hope you've enjoyed it. All timestamped, all subtitled, you know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and until the next video, stay safe, guys, stay sneaky, and peace out.